So today what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and do some weed control. When we bought our property, we leveled it out because it's quite a steep hill going down. And so we had to bring in a lot of dirt from horse pastures and other areas. And when we did that, we brought in this grass. This is quack grass, and this is actually quite invasive. It doesn't grow as nicely, like you can kind of see it in our lawn here, as nicely as some of the other grasses. It gets into everything, and it has a rhizome in it that spreads up to 7 feet. And it will also harm the plants around it and make it difficult for them to grow. So what I'm hoping to do is to stop it from spreading into the lawn, spreading into our garden, spreading into the shrubs. And I really don't want to spray Roundup. And it's a big area to constantly pull, plus it's a hill, so for erosion control, we don't want to pull it anyways. So instead, we're going to do a solarizing technique. The one that I have chosen to do is using greenhouse fabric. I'm hoping that it stays alive, or that it doesn't get a bunch of holes in it, so that we can use it for our greenhouse that we build, either in the fall or next spring. But for now, the idea is that you lay it on top. You make sure the soil is all wet, so it's still pretty wet from the last rainfall, but we're going to give it a good spray before we chuck it down. You lay this see-through tarp down, and the sun for the next 2 months, because these are going to be the hottest months for the next 3 months, for the next 12 weeks or so, is going to bake it. Because it's see-through, or because it's a greenhouse type material, then it's going to heat up pretty consistently, and it should kill any of the rhizomes from this grass. Unfortunately, all the other things that I planted down here too, we'll have to start over, but it should kill all of the weed bank. Up to 18 inches is what I'm reading. If I can at least get 6 inches, because these rhizomes don't go very deep, I would be very happy. And then I'm going to start the process of renaturalizing in the fall with some wild seeds, some wild plants and shrubs, propagating them in the fall. So here we go. All right, we have it weighed down as much as we have stuff. We'll see if it works. We're seeing lots of steam already, so things are happening. So everything's doing a pretty good job. After only 5 days, everything's pretty much dead under here, which is great. This is going to stay here till August because we don't just want the top to die down, we also want the root system to die underneath to try and kill as much of the quackgrass and other weeds that we're just getting out of control here. But this is why I use the solarization method versus just a black tarp, because the black tarp heats up and it does similar things, but it more blocks the sun, whereas this lets the sun in and bakes it. If I were to kill this or try and get rid of these with like Roundup or herbicides of some kind, it would kill everything, but it would also make it impossible to plant anything for at least a year after, probably a couple years. We would have the soil would be degraded, nutrients would be degraded, fungicide would be degraded. Whereas with this method, the bacteria, the fungi, they just kind of go deeper into the ground to avoid the heat. And all of this will break down into biomass, and it will help us build soil on this hill on top of getting rid of all the plant matter. So yeah, just one way to start to get rid of some of the weeds that I have been very annoyed at for the last 2 years. Over here, I think because the wind gets under here a little bit better and it's a little more shady, we're having a little bit harder time, but the benefit is there's still moisture. So the moisture is a good sign. That means that the plants the solarization is still working. It's just not quite to the same extent as that side. So maybe in another 5 days, this will all, and there's a lot more air over here versus over there, under here still. So this will just take a little longer, but that's okay. We got 2 months of waiting.